Hello everyone, this is your English tutor, Miss Tony Kiho. In today's video, we'll be learning the first chapter titled Thank You Ma'am, a short story written by James Mercer Langston Hughes. But before we get into the story, let's get to know more about Langston Hughes, our writer. You'll find a brief background of our writer on page 9. Langston Hughes' full name was James Mercer Langston Hughes. He was born on 1st February 1902 and died on 22nd May 1967. He was an American poet, writer, and a social activist. He was also the earliest innovator of the jazz poetry and a leader of the Harlem Renaissance in the New York City. In his works, we'll find that it reflected his works in the diverse American African culture, in its diverse culture. We'll also find that his work reflected his pride and the life of the working class black people in America in a very realistic fashion. This story is often celebrated for its simplicity and straightforwardness, where it centers around the two main characters, that is Roger, a teenage boy, and Mrs. Lilibet Washington Jones, an older woman. Now, Roger, he was a boy of around 14 to 15 years of age. Roger is a poor American African boy who had no one at home to look after him and who was trying to steal to get enough money to buy the shoes that he desired. He was not motivated by the issues of poverty as we traditionally think, like a lack of clothing or lack of food, but he wanted something which represents status or symbol, something which represents wealth. And so he tried to steal from a larger woman who looked like an easy target, but as the story progresses, we'll come to know that it was not so through his interactions with Mrs. Lilibet Washington Jones. Now, when we come to Mrs. Lilibet Washington Jones, as she calls herself, she was emotionally, mentally, and physically strong, but also very caring. She works hard at a beauty salon, which makes us know that she has a minimal education. As the story progresses, we also come to know that she has a past life of regrets, but it has clearly shaped who she is today. Now, coming into the story opens with an encounter between Roger, a teenage boy, and an older woman, Mrs. Jones, who was walking home alone one night around 11 o'clock after working at a beauty salon. As she was walking home, with a heavy bag slung over her shoulders, the boy came up behind her and tried to snatch her purse. But the bag, being heavy, the strap broke, and instead of, running away as the boy had hoped so, he fell down on the sidewalk with his leg up. Now, the woman, she simply turned around and kicked the boy directly at his backside, grabbed him by his collar, and shook him until his teeth rattled, asking him whether he is ashamed of his deeds or not. The boy, Roger, admits that he is ashamed of his deeds. Then the woman, she dragged the boy to her place, saying that once she is done with him, he will remember her forever. As she started dragging the boy to her home, the boy became really frightened, thinking that the woman was going to take him to the police station. But the woman simply dragged him to her place, and as they reached her door, she left the door open. The boy, he really wanted to run away since the door was open, but at the last moment he chose not to, and he stayed at the place. Now the woman asked the boy whether there is anybody at home to look after him or not. The boy said that there is no one to look after him, and since the boy appeared to be dirty, with his face unwashed and his hair uncombed, the woman told the boy to go to the sink and wash his face. Now, the woman asked the boy whether he is hungry or not, and she assumed that the boy was trying to steal her pocketbook since he was hungry. But we know that the boy was trying to steal not because he was hungry, but because he wanted to buy a pair of blue sweat shoes. When the woman asked why he was trying to steal, the boy honestly replied that he wanted a pair of shoes. Now the woman told the boy that if he wanted to buy a pair of shoes, he could have asked of her, which really surprised Roger, and he did not really quite believe the woman. Now the woman offered the boy dinner. As they were having dinner of ham, cocoa, lima beans and cake, the woman, she refrained from asking any questions like about the boy's life or about his parents, thinking that it might embarrass the boy. Rather, she just talked about her life and about her work at a beauty salon and how she meets different kind of women with different kind of hair. Now, as they finished dinner, the woman also revealed that she too had a past like the boy, which she is ashamed of and which she won't tell anybody. But she says that stealing is not a very good deed. And so, after dinner, she took the boy towards the door and handed him a $10 note, telling him to buy the shoes that he desired, and also teaching the boy not to steal from her again or from anyone else's purse for that matter. Now, as the woman bids the boy good night, the boy, he really wanted to say something more than thank you ma'am, but he could hardly manage to say thank you ma'am before the woman shuts the door. Thus, the story ends with a note from the author saying that he never saw the woman again in his lifetime. Now, that's a brief explanation of the chapter, Thank You Ma'am, but we'll discuss more about the plot of the story. Now, when it comes to the plot consists of 5-point structure with a slight twist at the end. The first is the explication. Explication is when Roger attempts to steal the purse from the large woman. The second is the rising action when the woman caught the boy red-handed trying to steal her purse and dragged him physically to her home. The climax is when the boy had the chance to run away with the door being open but chooses not to, and this is important because it opened a dialogue between them where the boy Roger learns about Mrs. Labette Washington, about her past life and about her work. Now, the following action is when Mrs. Labette Washington shared about her life and about her work, to Roger, and also when they had dinner together. Now the resolution, the last part of the plot structure is a resolution when the woman handed a $10 note to Roger, telling him to buy the shoes that he desired. The ending is quite quick and abrupt, and also very ironic that the boy could hardly manage to say thank you. Now that is about the plot. We also have some major themes like poverty. That is, we can see it from the life of Roger, who was trying to steal, and also from the life of Mrs. Jones as well. She was working hard even around midnight, since she was trying to make ends meet. And also the mentorship between the young and the old, that is experience and youth, and the nature of nurturing and kindness. Those are the major themes that we find. Now, Langston Hughes, he was acutely aware of the racial problems, poverty and the social conditions that was present in the American African life. And so he really wanted to uplift the people, from the strength honor that was present present in the life of the American experience. And in this story, we see that Roger, a poverty-stricken boy, he had no one at home to look after him. He was still unfed around 11 o'clock at night. And also Mrs. Labette Washington, she was working hard. Of course, she was working, but she was working hard to make ends meet for her survival. And also, we come to know that she had a difficult past. But in spite of all the hardship and struggles that she faced, Mrs. Lebeth Washington Jones has virtues like kindness and sympathy for the boy who was trying to steal her purse, and in fact she is a representative of her class. Thus this story, titled "Thank You Ma'am," depicts the culture and the life of the American people. Thank you. That's it for today's lesson. I'll see you in the next class.